Okay, we've heard from Dr. Virmani. Let's turn to another former chief economic advisor, another eminent economist of this country, Dr. Kaushik Basu, professor of economics at Cornell University and former chief economist, World Bank, joins me. He's in Bengal at the moment. Dr. Basu, my first question to you, the biggest takeaway for you from Budget 2024 of Nirmala Sitharaman.
The first takeaway and the overall impression is it is a good workman's budget, workperson's budget. Good one. The numbers add up. The fiscal deficit coming down to 4.9% with a target, it comes down to 4.5%. And I put pen to paper, it adds up. It's not just a number pulled out of thin air. So while this overall structure is a good, the numbers match up, add, and the top headlines, the concern for women, the concern for jobs, etc., are fine. But there is a but. And the but is there because the economic survey, which was actually very good, raised hopes. So last night I was thinking India's economy is in a very strange crisis, and I am using the word crisis deliberately because it is a bifurcated crisis. Let me explain. So I was expecting a lot from this budget. So though it's a good workman's budget, it does not live up to that expectation. See, what's happened in India, growth rate of 8.2%. I think that's correct. There are people who doubt that. Previous year, 7%, which is pretty good performance. But just begin to look beneath that. The recovery after the COVID period is a classic K-shaped recovery where the overall growth is going up only because the top end, the top corporates, income is shooting up. Not just the poor and the middle class, it's going down. Youth unemployment is extremely high. Inflation, even though it's down to roughly 5%, it's so different across goods that the middle classes and the poor are being hit very badly. Here, I was expecting that the budget would go really aggressive in terms of job creation and attending to the problem of inequality, which in India now is at a level rarely seen before. There are some calculations that the top end to the mass is like it was 70, 80 years ago. Colonial times, that's the level where it is. Where it falls short, actually, this is plans for this. If you begin to look into the details, take employment-linked incentives. At the first sight, it looks like a good plan. When people come into first time into employment, they will get a bit of benefit. But a little bit of calculation by a professional economist. When you're giving this incentive, corporates will know that people will be willing to come easily. You lower the salary. So though you give the money to the people who are taking up these jobs, by a change of salary, that goes into corporate pockets. And the economic survey itself had pointed out that corporate profit to GDP in India today is 15 years peak. We've never seen it like this. And I'm grateful that the economic survey points this out. Under these circumstances and under the middle classes suffering, the ordinary people suffering, youth unemployment sky high, you would have thought that there would be attention paid to that. Income tax, I personally believe that the income tax with the changes, one change is desirable. They've raised the deduction cutoff. Good policy. Inflation has taken place, that will help the middle classes. But the top end, marginal tax rate at 30%, whereas capitalist countries like United States goes up to 50%. Scandinavian countries, European countries at 50%. Our marginal tax rate could have gone higher, especially when the suffering is so great. Those policies are not there. The manufacturing sector needs incentives, not little bits of money being given, not enough of that. So yes, this is the Nirmala Sitharaman's best budget, I think, the 7th year. She has improved greatly. Maybe we should have her for one more year so she'll become even better. But on the whole, it's a disappointment given the current scenario.
You know, you use the word, we'll call it a workwoman-like budget, but in conclusion, therefore, is your concern going ahead still the fact that income inequalities could only widen further, that the job crisis that exists at the bottom of the pyramid could intensify further? Are those your concerns? Do you believe the budget has not done enough to address it? They could have done more. So you're saying it's a good budget, but again, not good enough. Am I correct?
That's correct. It's a good workman-like budget, but this is like 1991. This needed imagination, new ideas being put on the table, because youth unemployment does not have to get any worse. It's already very bad. Our youngsters are suffering. And if this prolongs, it's going to be not good for the economy at all, even though the headlines may look good, the GDP may look good. As soon as you look beneath that, the worries become deep and persistent.
So what's the one thing you would have done very quickly that she didn't do?
Huge incentive to the small producers, small manufacturers, so that they begin to employ more people. And it's not just job incentive to the individuals coming in, but also giving tax benefits. Tax the richer people, the big corporates. We have just lowered the corporate tax on foreign corporations. Don't do that. In fact, the tax revenue, you've probably seen, has gone down. You should have given many of those transfers to the small businesses so that they would be going out, reaching out and employing more people, and a taxation system, not like in a banana republic. India was never like this. You do want a redistributive tax system. And I do want to stress, I'm very aware as an economist that you don't want to damage incentives. Private ownership, entrepreneurship is important, but there was scope for a transfer that we do not see is taking place this time.
Okay. Dr. Basu, for giving us your takeaways on Budget 2024, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.